Guardians of the Galaxy feels like a movie made back in a simpler time, in a sense that I'm amazed that this even got made at all in this day and age. I mean, let's just do a head count. Peter Quill, a dashing thief from Earth that has a Walkman on him at all times. Gamora, a deadly green assassin and offspring of one of the most feared men in the universe. Drax, a revenge-fueled Bulk looking to avenge his dead wife and daughter. Rocket, a raccoon once experimented on who can talk and works with mechanics. And Groot, a walking, talking, fighting tree with the inability to say anything other than I am Groot. No executive in his right mind would have greenlit this movie based on that sort of rough premise. Talking raccoons, walking trees, lots and lots of special effects, and it's not a part of a universally recognised film franchise to get people into the cinemas. Any studio would have been out of its mind to let James Gunn and company do this. Fortunately enough, the people to propose and dare to make such a movie was none other than Marvel Studios, the people that are proving time and again that sometimes it's the risky projects that can turn out to be the real deals. We've had futuristic tech action, patriotic Boy Scout optimism, magical gods, spy thrillers, and this time we're taking a venture into the real unknown. Guardians of the Galaxy is an incredibly enjoyable, funny, well-directed, wonderfully weird space opera with the sense to, instead of backing away from all the really out-there concepts from the source, fully embrace them, in turn expanding the cinematic universe into infinite possibilities and coming off as a breath of fresh air for the franchise. While on the surface, it's another fun, sci-fi fantasy in similar vein to J.J. Abrams' Star Trek or Joss Whedon's Firefly or the most obvious reference point, Star Wars, what it has that the others don't is the unique, confident swagger of a man walking down the street listening to Lonely Island's I Just Had Sex the morning after getting laid the night before. It comes off as a movie made back in the 70s and 80s amongst the renaissance of Spielberg when Hollywood was in a desperate state and would have hired anyone with any premise with the money to back them up. And that's where Guardians really becomes its own thing, with that same brave, bold, I don't give a shit if you think this is dumb, just roll with it attitude. James Gunn has pretty much made for kids today what Ghostbusters was to us way back when. Whereas Star Wars began with classical music over an informative crawl, or Flash Gordon started off with a theatrical villain causing natural disasters, Guardians' opening credits consists of Star-Lord entering a mysterious tomb on an abandoned planet, putting on his headphones and listening to Come Get Your Love as he dances his way towards the orb you've seen him going after in all of the trailers. It sets the tone immediately and makes everyone know that things like referencing Footloose as some sort of heroic legend, a drunken raccoon getting all emotional, or challenging the villain to a dance-off before he obliterates a planet all apply in a movie like this. And thankfully it doesn't ever steer off into self-parody, it's just filled with realistic characters that have the common sense to know when things are getting a little silly. The cast is the big shock of all. Chris Pratt, who must be having the best year of his life, pulls in a career-defining performance as, well, Han Solo if he'd been raised on Earth in the 80s. Zoe Zeldana makes up for her absurdly dull portrayal of Lieutenant Uhura with Gamora. Dave Butista, who I didn't even know could act, is the surprise hit of the bunch, pulling in some of the biggest laughs down to his simple line delivery. Bradley Cooper's voice somehow works in every scene, and the fact that it is Cooper never even distracts from the character of Rocket, and Vin Diesel does a nice subtle job as well. Where the movie succeeds in pulling on the heartstrings is all down to the characters and their interplay. While yes, it's all very witty and banterful, it's a story involving lonely characters, and the script manages to give them all their own time in the sun, whether it be through action, clever back and forths in the dialogue, or blink and you'll miss some suggestive shots. Because of the time and effort put into making these characters the spotlight of the film, this is honest to God the first time I've ever forgotten I was watching computer-generated characters amongst real actors. They all come across as real people with genuine flaws they need to overcome, with fun quirks and senses of humour. Overall, surprisingly, there's really not much to be said about Guardians of the Galaxy. If you'd guessed that it hits all the conventional story beats, as in individuals go about their own naughty business, end up colliding and reluctantly having to work together, and along the way learn more about selflessness, friends and family, then give yourselves a gold star. And that's fine, in fact it's great. It means we have plenty of space in the movie to fill up with interesting side characters, cool gadgets, convincing practical sets, believable environments, and a lot of 70s pop songs which all somehow gels incredibly well together. On the action side of things, it's all very well executed, ranging from punch-outs to intricate sword fights to spaceship battles. The downside to a terrific main cast means that while yes, the antagonists have their place, this certainly isn't a villain movie per se, and between Thanos, the guy from the end of Avengers that gets off on death, and Nebula, his creepy but kind of admittedly sexy cyborg assassin daughter, Ronan the Executioner, who's our main baddie of this outing, kinda comes off as the least interesting of the three. With his vague backstory and little to no interest in fighting the Guardians themselves, he's basically just a reason for them to band together and nothing more. The action finale drags a bit, and while I don't want to be too hard on that since this is a space movie and they always have to end on some big spectacular climax, the Marvel formula of everything blowing up at the end is starting to wear a bit thin on me, and there are quite a few frustrating fake outs on whether they've properly defeated the bad guys or not. And while Star-Lord's mother arc is kind of brought up amidst all the madness in a "oh yeah, we kind of forgot about that" kind of awkwardness, the following scene involving him sitting down dwelling on a present he just opened is enough to make any moviegoer cry. I can't say for sure just yet that this is the best film of the year or even the best of the Marvel universe, because let's face it, everyone says that about every new Marvel flick during the first month or so of its release, but it's a damn great movie in its own right. The visuals are gorgeous, it's well paced, the characters are surprisingly involving and charismatic, all the out there concepts are handled with care and respect, the universe is incredibly well realised, the turns in the narrative keep things fresh and fun, and it charges headfirst into the unknown with a giant middle finger to those that said this kind of thing wouldn't work in the first place. Marvel diehards will complain that the Nova Corps isn't so prominent, and people will criticise it for its predictable plot and how similar it is to the Avengers, but the key word here is fun, which is just infectious with movies like these. It is, to the child in me, the best type of film, one that just turns me into a 10-year-old again. It creates a lived-in universe that I want to explore. I buy every set, every special effect, and every prop. This isn't just a movie, no. These characters are alive, they're real, and I loved it. Cheers for watching guys, and as always if you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel.